So I'm so excited to be sharing this with you. As I said, I couldn't make it to HypnoThoughts. There was just sort of a perfect storm of crazy events that happened that prevented me from going. And in hindsight, I honestly think that there was like some sort of divine intervention going on. I've already had COVID a few times. I haven't gotten any boosters in a while. My higher self was saying like, you don't need to do that anymore. But I'm really glad that I didn't like pick it up again because I have actually had some health issues lately, and that might have been pretty bad for me. But also, I get to have this presentation with like, I don't know, between 150 and 200 people now instead of only 47, which is the size that my room was. So I'm really excited about that. And oh, I'm Krista Marie Bowman. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm sorry. I shouldn't just assume I'm not like a A-list celebrity. Hi, I'm Krista. If you don't know who I am, please welcome to my world. I'm so glad to have you. There's a lot going on. I'm going to be really, it's a very inclusive and participatory presentation. And for those of you that don't know me, you probably don't know this, which is that I'm ridiculously curious by nature. So I would love to have you guys tell me where in the world on planet Earth you are joining me from. And I know at least one person is joining from Australia, which like two hands up. I'm so like tickled about that. But I imagine, it is kind of the middle of the night for the other side of the world. So I do have, some followers in India, Philippines, Japan, New Zealand, and of course, Australia. And they'll, of course, be getting the replay, as will all of you. Once I sort of tidy it up, I'll make sure you have that. But just, I'm so excited to have everybody here, and I want to see where some of you are from. We have the Netherlands. Oh, Anami. Yes, Trinidad. Oh my gosh. I think you might be the first person that's joined one of my things from Trinidad. London, Clearwater, Florida. Hi. Yeah, this is great. Oh, I'm so excited. Kansas, San Diego, Italy. Yep, yep. Oh, this is fantastic. Yeah, this is truly a global event. All right. For now, we're going to do sort of back and forth between some slides and me. And I won't see it, but you'll be able to see a tiny little me up in the corner of your screen. So I'll sort of be walking you through the slides the whole time. But let's go ahead and just dive right in, shall we? All right. The HDL 2024 presentation that I was going to do, I'm going to sort of walk you through. We're going to go through some really foundational concepts of multidimensionality using my favorite metaphors, which are dumbed down for non-math people because guess what? That's me. I'm not a math person. And this will be the what portion of communicating with your multidimensional consciousness. Then we're going to explore frequencies and senses as a means of actually communicating across the dimensionality of our consciousness. And this will be the how portion of doing this. And if these seem to be bold claims, I realize that I might be like sort of putting my neck out here for a little bit, but I want to preface this by saying you're actually already doing this. I'm just here to help you do it intentionally and for your client's highest good. This is mostly for you, but I want you to take these concepts and use them however you want to. The information is for everyone and anyone, but I have intentionally pieced it together for hypnotherapists, hypnotists, energy workers, somatic healers, sound healers, or those of us collectively known as change workers, because, it was intended for HTL. But the other thing is we are at the forefront of this burgeoning field, meaning the science of consciousness, non-local reality, communication with multidimensional consciousness. We're at the forefront of this, and even the physicists haven't figured this out yet. But I have. And I'm not saying I'm smarter than a physicist. I'm definitely not. It's just that I'm not on their radar, right? Like, why would they even think about how to actually communicate with these? Because they're all about measuring it, studying it, researching it, not necessarily communicating, right? That's what we do. And so we're going to go through these foundational things, and then I'm going to tie it all together with a few activities. So you'll be communicating with multiple dimensions of your own consciousness, as well as each other's. as a group in a very non-invasive way because I am so not about having to break out and do team crap. I'm too introverted for that. Comfortable. So don't worry, I'm not going to do that to you. We're going to do like all in or individual. And this is the when we all come together as collectively, I want this to be sort of a nod to the singularity of consciousness concept, which you will come to understand very well in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and just launch right into this, and then we're going to take little breaks, just to make sure that we're all like on the same page. The 0 point singularity infinity. We're diving right in, and I swear to God, I'm not going to make you guys do a bunch of math. I promise. You know what? Actually, before I do this, who wants to hear just a little bit about how I got started in this? Just hop in the chat if you're curious about like my own little personal, like how I got into this. And if not, that's okay. Like, I'm not gonna, my feelings won't be hurt, I promise. Yeah? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I wouldn't say it's unanimous yet, but it looks like there's a few people that are interested. So I'm going to just like go through this speedy quick. This is not going to be the Krista show, though. This is really about the content, not me as like an individual. I stumbled down this particular little rabbit hole as a very young child. And I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version of this. It all goes back to when I was like 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. I used to play with the little people that lived in the gardens and the surrounding forest at the New Age commune that I grew up on. Of course I did, right? Like where else could I have grown up? And I was only there until I was 8.5, so I didn't really grow up there. It was just my formative years. But I knew them as nature spirits, elves, fairies, that sort of thing. And nobody else could see them. Well, actually, that's not true. There was one woman, this psychic woman named Gloria Karpinski, who could see them. My mother reminded me of that just last week. That's a story for another time. So there was a grown-up that could see them, and I was very blown away by this because I thought that they were all mine. Anyway, and I had one in particular that was my best friend, and he identified as an elf. And his name was Drophy. Then when we moved off of the commune, I was like 8.5, 9, that started being less and less okay. Like my own peers were telling me that wasn't okay. And then I also had this really interesting experience where I was visited by my grandfather in the middle of the night. He just came and sat at the edge of my bed and told me how much he loved me. And then he said goodbye. And I remember being overwhelmed with sadness, but I didn't really understand it. And then I went back to sleep. And when I woke up the next morning, I told my mom about it, and she was really blown away because he had died that night. And I guess he came to say goodbye to me. Now, I was very fortunate that I didn't have parents that dismissed things like this. Like when stuff like this happened, I was taken seriously, And so even though I had friends and peers who were dismissive and belittling and harassing and even bullying, I didn't have that with the adults in my life. Anyway, so let's fast forward to the age of 18 when I had the first of 2 near-death experiences. And I was actually given a whole lot of information in that, and I experienced a lot, but I repressed it very much intentionally so that I could function in this world better. Because after experiencing that, even though I made the choice to come back, I had like 1 foot out, 1 foot in. I didn't really fully want to be here because that felt like home. And so I turned my back on all things woo for a while. When I went to college, I focused on like what I considered to be a more like pure scientific method. I knew I wanted to do psychology, but I went into the applied psych side of things instead of the counseling side of things. I wanted to do the research. I wanted to have the laboratory experiments. I want, all of that, replicable results and the null hypothesis and proving it right or wrong. So yeah, this was all in an effort to sort of deny the woo-woo in me. So years later, when I became a hypnotherapist, I had no intention of going back down the woo path. The universe, however, had a completely different trajectory in mind for me. So my clients started having these, I guess, more spiritual sessions. And I say spiritual because it's not a term that I am super comfortable with, only because it's been co-opted to mean a lot of things that I don't agree with, like victim blaming. Oh, you got cancer, you must have thought bad thoughts. Like, no, thank you. I'm not, no, right? The self-righteous enlightenment, the ego-based gurus, the spiritual narcissism, all that stuff. I'm so not into that. So I tend to use words like metaphysical and consciousness and energy. Anyway, the science of consciousness itself is a very real, very valid line of scientific inquiry. And it bridges that gap between biological evolution and quantum physics that nobody could seem to figure out from like the 1920s until just the past few, like 2 decades. And it's also the basis for non-local reality, which I'm not going to go into a whole lot other than like the periphery of it sort of touches on what we're doing here. But that was the thing that won the 2022 Nobel Prize in Physics. And it basically just postulates that reality isn't what we think it is. I'll leave it there for now. All right. So in my clinical hypnotherapy practice, some of my clients started having these like spontaneous, unexplainable experiences, visiting past lives, visiting parallel lives, going to the Akashic Library, meeting spirit guides, ancestors, lost loved ones, channeling higher dimensional beings, ascended masters, extraterrestrials. My options at this point were to either ignore that this was happening so that I could stay within the realm of clinical hypnotherapy, or to validate what was happening with my clients, not by saying I believe, but by saying whatever you're experiencing, clearly it's your experience. I don't have a right to take that from you. It doesn't matter what I believe. And so I started researching as much as I could, just putting the feelers out there into the universe. Like, I need more information. I started like learning about life between lives and QHHT, and I didn't take any of those classes, but I read all of the books and I kept having the experiences, right? So I just decided, in order to be true to what was happening with my clients and in my sessions, I needed to just set all of my own worries and beliefs and confusion and discomfort aside and just start sort of approaching all of this like a research scientist, like a researcher. So these experiences led me to much more elegant explanations that I was more comfortable with, instead of spiritual, looking at realms of quantum theory, specifically the non-local reality, science of consciousness. So in a nutshell, like all of the things that we're going to be doing today regarding communication with multidimensional consciousness was kind of where all of this was heading. And I didn't really piece all of it together, but guess what? And some way or another, I've been doing this my entire life, like as far back as I can remember, different pieces of the puzzle just fitting in together. So just to give you sort of like a really quick and dirty, like what is non-local reality? It's basically that everything that we experience is just the user interface. It's like we're not seeing the deeper codes. We're not seeing the programming. We're only interacting with the things that are in the 3D world. So just like in a video game or a computer program, you've heard of simulation theory, game theory. The science of consciousness posits that this is because we are biologically designed to only perceive the things that will help us survive this dimension. So it wouldn't do us any good to see the entire light spectrum, right? It wouldn't do us any good to hear every sound in the infra and the ultra sides of the sounds, of, all of that, the frequencies of sound. So we require this 3D user interface to survive. So here now we're going to dive into the quick little dimensionality that looked a little bit scary, but really it's not. So we require this 3D user interface to survive. And what's really interesting is that, remember that Richard Feynman quote on the first slide about not being able to perceive the dimension that you're in until you're in the next one? The quote is specifically, we can only ever perceive the dimension below the one we're perceiving from. And that holds true mathematically. It also holds true with consciousness. So let's take a closer look at what this means. When you're in the first dimension, that line, you don't, let's go ahead and imbue these geometrical figures with like a little bit of self-awareness, okay, so that we can like come at them from like first person, okay? It has no idea that it is a line. It just knows that it's two dots. One at one end, one at the other. It has a begin point, it has an end point, and that's it. Okay. But once it perceives itself from the second dimension, it can now perceive that there are these whole lines and the two dots are connected. It doesn't yet know that it's a full square though. It just is four lines until it perceives itself from the third dimension. Perceiving itself from the cube, it can now see that it has four sides. It has all these sides, right? It's not just the four. Now it's a full three-dimensional cube, except that it only sees one side at a time. Boom. The best way to sort of explain this would be like if you had a really, really, really big cube in the middle of a yard and there was people sitting on all sides of it, and let's say it was one side's painted red, one's orange, one's yellow, one's blue. Each person is going to say, no, this cube is whatever color they see. They don't know that the other sides exist, okay? The cube perceives itself as a full three-dimensional cube when it moves into the fourth dimension. And this is a tesseract, but I sort of broke it apart for you so you could see it a little bit better, because they say, most scientists tend to agree, that the fourth dimension is time. So let's look at this as being maybe like that smaller cube would be past. The larger one would be future. And then everything tying it together would be the traveling through time. Okay, so this is really going to start to, like, this is going to make sense and come in very handy in just a moment. Who has their apples? I want to see apples. Did anybody bring their apples? Your apples? We're gonna infuse these apples with some fourth and fifth dimensional magic. And then I promise we're gonna actually say like how this all fits together with hypnosis. Okay. Did you get your apples? I want to see some apples. Hold them up for me. You got them? Okay, Olga does. Perfect, perfect. Yay. Your boyfriend ate the last apple out of me. Oh, well, you can get another one, and then you can infuse it with your own magic. Okay. All right. So let me share the next screen with you. All right, fifth dimensions and beyond. Here's our apple. And I sliced mine in half, but just ignore that for the moment. There's a reason why. So let's say that you are a little bit of consciousness. We're going to explore ourselves. Okay. The consciousness of the apple. It's going to enter in, let's say, I don't know if I'm left to right for you. Well, I'm just going to do it in my direction. Anyway, we're going to enter into it. So this is our starting point. And it's like, ooh, I'm exploring myself, and I am this like pretty sort of pinky orange color with a little bit of gold, and I'm smooth and I'm shiny, and that's really nice. And then it starts to explore like the next section. Okay. And now it's like, ooh, I'm this like nice, crisp, appley, fruity, crunchy goodness. Like that's exciting and new. I love this for me. And then it gets to the center and it's like, oh, what is this? I have a bunch of seeds. I think of this as like, it's very special but confusing for the apple, like puberty, you know, because I'm a little sentimental that way. And actually one of the seeds is trying to come out. So let's say we have a horny little apple here. Okay. Because it wants to procreate. That's why it has the seeds. It's puberty, right? Got it? Okay. So then it moves on to explore the next section and it realizes, oh, this is familiar. This feels really good. I remember being here. Yeah, I was just here before the crazy puberty took me into a new place. And here I am again, and this feels nice and stable and familiar. But wait, the next section is getting smaller. Oh no. Is my crunchy, fruity goodness coming to an end? And it starts to get maybe sad because it thinks everything is getting smaller and smaller. And oh, I can see where the end is. There's the inside of the skin now. And then it comes all the way out, exits, and realizes, oh, it's not over at all. I was an entire apple, not just a series of appley moments through time, but an entire apple. And from this vantage point, maybe it can even perceive that there are many, many apples to explore. So if you have an apple, hold your apple up. Lynn, Ellie, Christine, Cindy, is that an apple? It doesn't look like an apple. You can't eat that. You break your teeth on that, woman. Kathy, beautiful. All right, so we have this whole apple that now, because it has reached the external portion of its consciousness, and it can look back and see that it was an entire apple rather than just slices of experiences going through time, it can look out and see all of your apples as well. And maybe if our OG apple happens to, I don't know, meditate, or it has an apple hypnotist somewhere in its path, it might have discovered how to send its consciousness out beyond the confines of its own little limited perception before it reached the end, so that it already got a chance to see or feel or experience or sense that there's something bigger than just itself. And so maybe it learned how to explore appley consciousness in general. Maybe it remembers a little bit about that time that it was a green apple, or that time that it was a red apple, or golden, or that time that it fell off of the tree. Maybe it got nibbled on by something. Maybe it became part of the soil that then nourished the roots of the tree that it came from, so that it could then become part of the next season of apples. And so this is where that concept of singularity comes in, at least insofar as my fun little metaphors. The total number of minds in the universe is in fact one. And I think this is a pretty good way to sort of conceptualize that. That consciousness is a singularity phasing through all beings, not just apples, us too, by the way. So I want to take a detour from dimensionality for a moment, because I don't want to turn our brains into pretzels too early on. Because this stuff, it's fascinating, right? But it is a little like, whoa, hold on, wait, I need to catch up a little bit. And I'm not saying that that means you're slow. I'm just saying it's kind of a lot, right? Okay, so if dimensionality is the what, then frequency is the how. And I think you guys are probably way more familiar with using frequencies in your work, right? Emotional frequencies at the very least. Some of you maybe sound frequencies, other things olfactory. So I'm going to share the next slide with you so that you can just see what I mean by frequencies. All right. So this top part is the audible range for humans. See that little red circle there? That's all we can hear. And the actual like spectrum is way bigger than this. We haven't even been able to really measure it fully, because we just have these tiny little 3D human brains, and we're walking around thinking we know everything, but like we're still discovering every single day. So yeah, on that note, if science changes something, that doesn't mean it was wrong before. It means it's just continuing to learn. So please, don't crap on science. Just let it keep doing its thing. As long as it's not paid for and biased, then I think we can just let it do its thing. But so we have this like little spectrum of sound, and then we have this little spectrum of light that I put down there. And there's actually frequencies of everything. There's olfactory frequencies, there's gustatory frequencies, there's emotional frequencies, there's energetic frequencies. But the average human has just a very limited range of what we can perceive with our given senses, our like primary senses. So bats can perceive far more than humans. That's why I put a little bat there, because that's biologically necessary for them, right? And bees can perceive way more than humans. Like bats can perceive in the ultrasonic ranges. We know that. That's pretty much how they, operate in the world. Bees can perceive far more than humans in terms of light and also smell, but smell works differently for them. I'm not even going to get into it. It's fascinating though. Look it up sometime if you're really into bees. The way that they smell, it's a completely different system than what humans have. Anyway, but that's necessary for their survival. And here's what's interesting. They can not just smell flowers, but they can hear them. They can hear plants. When plants have flowers full of pollen, bees can hear that. Now, that's necessary for their survival, their biological survival, right? You can see how that would be really, really handy, but not so much for humans. Like, can you imagine how chaotic it would be if humans could hear every plant as those plants are advertising their readiness to like get it on with all the pollinators in the forest or, wherever they are, as we're just like taking a walk, not very helpful for us. We need, for our survival, to be able to hear things like a mountain lion or a bear or a gathering storm or a nearby river. We already know that like dogs can smell way better, cats can see and smell way better. Actually, pretty much every other mammal on the planet has a better range of sensory perception than humans. Even reptiles, amphibians, like pretty much everything. Humans are ridiculously limited in our senses in comparison to most, and not all, but most. Dolphins outperform humans in every one of these sensory perceptions. And yet, when a unique human comes along with the ability to sense something that's outside of the usual limitation, they get labeled as freaks or weirdos or outcasts, much like I did when I was a little kid and could see nature spirits. But what is this really? Having the ability to sense more, to perceive extra, is just extra sensory perception. It's ESP, and it's not all that uncommon. It's just not often validated. And I think we lost a few hundred years of human evolution due to dismissing it, belittling it, denying it. So because of that, we are a tribal species, right? So we learn to hide it. Sometimes we hide it so well that we lose it entirely, or we think we do, or we forget about it, or we tell ourselves that we're crazy. We gaslight our own selves until something comes along to reawaken it. I want to just like posit that what if this is our birthright? What if every human has some extrasensory perception, maybe multiple, right? And that it's nothing to be ashamed of. I am personally so grateful that I'm finally regaining my own extrasensory perceptions. And my guess is that many of you have them too. And so once more, I would love it if you would put in the chat, do you have any of these extrasensory perceptions? So things like if you can see things that others don't, that would be clairvoyance, voyeur, right? If you hear things that others don't, that would be clairaudience. So like snippets of random conversation that pop into your head, or like an unbidden thought that you're like, that's not organic to anything that I was doing. Like, where did that come in from? And it might be that it's not even yours, okay? That you would have maybe, and this is a new one for me, and I'm not always happy about, but clairolfactance, being able to smell things that others can't smell. And yes, I did in fact check different environments to see if maybe do I need to go get a brain scan, because I know that that can also be a symptom of like a brain tumor. But no, it's actually very specific to certain areas of like downtown Wilmington where I live, where there happens to be a lot of like, I guess, ghostly activity. I can smell that. And as you can imagine, it doesn't always smell so great. And I actually remembered that I had this when I was pregnant. In my pregnancies, I had this too, but then it went away again. And now it's come back. And I'm not altogether sure why, but I have no intention of shutting it down this time. There's also clairsentience. So just suddenly like having the understanding, the awareness of how something works, claircognizance, being able to pick up on the cognitive processes of like maybe even others around you, or getting downloads, full downloads. And so I'm going to read off what some people have said. Claircognizance, not sure. Yes, many. Nikki, yeah, I know you do. Cindy, yep, you do too. And Jill is a trance medium healer, so perfect. Yeah, okay. So like everybody that is meant to be in today's classes here. Yay. I'm just going to say that's a little bit of validation for all of us. Did you know? I don't know, anybody who reads the New York Times, you would already know this, but there's a woman in Scotland named Joy Milne. She was written about in the New York Times a couple of months ago for verifiably, and I mean, they replicated this time after time after time, verifiably being able to smell Parkinson's disease on patients. It started with her own husband. And since then, in trial after trial, she correctly predicted who did and who did not have Parkinson's disease. So you can see how these extrasensory perceptions could be very, very helpful to us as a species, as a community, being able to help each other. And it's so past time to stop shutting them down. We need to be reawakening them, supporting them. And I'm convinced that this is, I mean, I really am convinced that this is like part of the human birthright. And it's just been sort of taken from us, whether intentionally or not, passing down generationally. It was just unsafe. There was a lot of persecution, things like that. And I don't really discuss my own personal metaphysical beliefs very often, but this is one that I stand very firmly in. I do believe we all have access to some extrasensory perception and that we can build upon it. We're all gifted in some way, and we're meant to share these gifts. If we want to have healthy, cooperative, supportive, a global society, then we need to be able to share these safely. But how? How, you might ask. So here's where we're going to tap into the gifts ourselves. All right. So, and maybe you can use this to help your clients as well. If you already know how to tap into all your stuff, maybe this will just give you like a new way. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not meaning to preach to the choir or be condescending or anything. So just, you'll still have a beautiful experience, even if you already know everything I'm about to say. So with all of these different senses, we can begin I'm going to hop in the next slide, tap into the consciousness of our body using our senses. Let's start there because it's ours and we can, and it's not intrusive if you do it to yourself. Okay. So I invite you to just close your eyes and do a quick scan of your body and just notice if there's anywhere at all that feels just out of sorts, imbalanced, whatever. It might be a happy high kind of imbalance. It doesn't have to be a sad low or physical pain or whatever. But if you have any blockages or physical pain, this is a good opportunity to go ahead and just like communicate with it so that it can tell you what it needs. Okay. And it's already communicating with us all the time, right? That's what pain is. That's what discomfort is. It's letting you know something is amiss, anxiety, all that stuff, even pleasure, joy. That's also communication saying like, yes, this is really good. We like this. And so here's a little demo. When you find that spot, let's see, mine is going to be on my left lower thigh. There's something going on there. Okay. I invite you to put your left hand on that spot. The left hand so you can receive the information. And then keeping your eyes closed, imagine that you can just sort of send your full awareness all the way down to wherever it is that you have your left hand. Just sending your focused awareness internally through your body to that same spot. And now see when you get there, if you can touch the palm of your hand with your focused awareness. And if you feel like you're struggling or you just can't, or you're dismissing yourself or gaslighting yourself, then I want you to just pretend that you can. Just imagine that you can. And then imagine that you're not imagining anymore. Giving a nod to my friend and mentor Mike Mandel right there. So I'd love for you to tell me in the comments after you sort of do this for a couple minutes, did you pick up any information? And if so, what? What did you pick up? Just imagining that like your awareness is right here on the inside of your body and your hand is right here and there's communication taking place between your focused awareness and your left hand. Stretch more, allergies, need more water. Yes. Yeah, and I invite you, if you get a little bit, after the call, go in and do some more. Because if it's telling you, like Cindy, if it's saying allergies, then when there's time and, you're not being forced to listen to me in your face, just go like, what's up with the allergies? And instead of telling it what to do or what you want it to do, just like listening. Olga, be more vibrant and courageous, stand up straight. That's a good one for all of us. Let's just do that right now. Like, let's go ahead and just stand up straight. Thank you, Olga. That's a great one. All right. So I'm going to move into another method of sort of looking at frequencies, and then we're going to sort of tie it all together with an activity. All right. You may or may not be able to hear this very well, and it really doesn't matter because it's the point of it that I want you to get more so than the actual sound. So this is what happens at these different hertz levels. So 104 hertz, it's going to keep going up to sand on a Chladni plate. And you can do it with salt as well. And this is just sound at different hertz, organizing these little particles, these little solid particles. And solid is sort of a misnomer, but that's another class. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so now I want you to, how sound affects water. So it's not just solids, it's also liquids. And these are just the sound frequencies that we can actually hear. Imagine what different sounds are doing to your physical body, especially the ones you can't hear. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but horror movies, for example, have been using infrasound to increase the sense of anxiety in your body so that when you're watching the movie, you can't hear it, but your body, the cells of your body are responding to this. And so that's just something to be aware of. I want you to just notice that there are frequencies everywhere. So I used sound frequencies here because it's something that's a bit less subjective than emotional frequencies. And it's not that emotional frequencies don't exist. They absolutely do. It's just that they're a little bit more, subjective. So, but on that note, there is a guy, David R. Hawkins, I'm sure some of you already know who this person is, who came up with this map of consciousness. And these are all hertz. Sound hertz, 20, 30, 50, 75, 100. And then he's equating them to the light spectrum. And then down here is contracted. So you would feel that like maybe energetically like a contraction. And then up here is expanded. And then one of my favorite quotes of all time, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And if you're not familiar with David R. Hawkins, there is a whole book called The Map of Consciousness Explained. He explains it, so I don't have to. But the higher the emotional frequency, the more incoherent you are physically, emotionally, energetically, on many levels, layers, densities, and dimensions that are known and unknown. And also, please don't let anyone ever use this map against you. This came across my Facebook feed just the other day. I heard about someone who had a nasty run-in with one of those folks that uses spirituality as a form of narcissistic abuse. And she was told that she was vibrating about 250 hertz lower in her frequency, her emotional frequency, than the toxic jerk who issued this insult. So I'm sure you guys can see the hypocrisy in this, yes? Kind people don't have to tell you how nice they are. Geniuses don't have to carry around a card from Mensa proving their intelligence, and enlightened people don't go around dimming other people's lights. Okay? Okay. I'll get off my soapbox now. So the graphic to the right of this is just a sampling of, some of you probably already know this guy too, Dr. Masaru Emoto, his work with water crystals, where people were sending intentional thoughts and feelings to water in jars as they froze, and then they froze in these different formations. And there's so many more. This is just like a tiny, tiny, tiny sampling. And what's really interesting is that polluted water can become more coherent. I don't know if I would use the word healthy. I think we would have to test that, right? But at least as far as the crystalline structure, it's a more coherent crystalline structure simply by praying on it. And prayer can mean, so many different things. I'm not necessarily saying like in the religious sense, but if that floats your boat, then do that. So I want you to just consider that emotional frequencies have as much of an impact on your body as any other frequency, as sound frequencies, as light, as sight, as like everything, your smell. And so for this reason, I actually encourage my clients and also members of my global healing group, we meet every Monday, to play with the frequencies in your own environment. Play with them. Why not? You can. You may not be able to control for all of the frequencies out there in the rest of the world, but you can curate the ones in your own home where you live to a very large degree. Use aromatics, music, lighting, art, movement, who you choose to interact with while you're in your home, who you allow into your home. And so here's a fun thing to try. Put some music on along with um, your favorite scent. You can like burn some incense or use an essential oil diffuser or something, and then leave the house and go run some errands and go get all the, frequencies of everybody else kind of, blah, and then come home and open your door and notice how good that feels. It's this like haven of the frequencies that you love the most. Uh, it's like this, yeah, your happy little frequency haven. Your pets and your plants will thank you too. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the second gift basket here because the first one everybody got, and then we're going to finish up. Let's see. Albert Bramanti, are you in here? Ariane, can you tell me if he is? And if not, I'll move on to the next person. Albert, if you're here, just pop something in the chat because I can't see everybody that's in here.
I don't see an Albert.
Okay. Sreshta. I saw her. I know she's here. I'm hoping that I pronounced your name okay. I'm sure it wasn't perfect. Yay, she's here. Okay, so you got gift basket number 2. So all I need you to do is find me on Facebook, or you can email me by responding to one of the emails that I sent you, and give me your physical address wherever you are. I am prepared to mail this, across continents, and that's fine. And so you are the winner of the second gift basket. Yay! Okay, perfect. All right. So with all these different levels and layers of dimensionality, what about the dimensionality of human consciousness? And this is where we as change workers have a lot that we can offer. So bringing all of these concepts together, the dimensionality of human consciousness. Now, this is mostly just my perception or my metaphor, but I have gleaned it from other, areas, places, people, etc. But this is just sort of how I have sort of put it together. So when you're at the character level, and everybody starts off at the character level, you are at effect, okay? And this isn't about being not evolved enough, not woke enough, not enlightened enough. It's about being a little kid living in a world that you don't really have any control over. You don't have a lot of power over your environment, over the people in it, about your own body, at first. Like you're completely dependent. Life is happening to us at that age. We all start here when we enter into the game of life, right? And some people move to the next level pretty quickly. And some people, it might take a while. And that's okay. There's no rush to any finish line. Because remember, when you get to the end of the apple, you can look back and be like, oh, I'm a whole apple. I can go explore another apple now, if I so desire. We don't know what each person's mission is or purpose or soul contracts, if you want to, call it that. And perhaps, who knows, there might be people whose role in this lifetime is just purely 100% to activate others to move to a greater level of self-awareness by causing us to be so uncomfortable. Like there might actually be people who's like, they're like, yeah, you know what, I'll sacrifice this lifetime so that I can go really trigger the crap out of everyone else so that they have to heal these things. All right. Now, I'm not saying that's for sure. I'm just saying like maybe that's something. And so if that's the case, saying thank you for revealing my triggers would be far more effective than getting mad and feeling self-righteous and better than, right? When you move to the next level, the player level, this would be when you're stepping into being at cause, no longer at effect. So life is no longer just happening to you. You now have some ability to orchestrate things, to have some control over your own responses, your own perceptions. You realize that there is a very obvious set of natural consequences that occur when you have a terrible attitude. You go out in the world expecting bad things happen, right? So now you're moving into at cause. But remember when we were talking about how you only know the level and dimensionality that you are when you're beyond it. So a person who is at the character level has no idea they're at the character level. They don't know that there's any other level. They haven't been able to see beyond that. They don't know that there's any other way to live, right? So applied to human consciousness, when we move into player mode, then we can see, oh, I was I was just playing the character of Krissa. Well, maybe the character of Krissa doesn't want to be depressed anymore. Maybe the character of Krissa doesn't want to be poor anymore. Maybe the character of Krissa, whatever, right? Because now I'm at cause and I can alter those things, but I don't really identify as being the player of the character yet. Not until I would move into the programmer level. And this is the level where you actually start to realize you can manifest your entire environment. That your thoughts and your emotional frequency become sort of the building block of everything that you're perceiving, and everything that you're perceiving is in fact your reality. And this is where being a hypnotist or hypnotherapist is very exciting, because we can help people at that character level perceive themselves from the player level, pull them out of thinking everything is just happening to them, helping them move into everything is happening for them. And I'm not saying I'm at the programmer level. I think I get glimpses of it. I try to live there, but it hasn't stuck yet. But I do get glimpses, which I'm very grateful for. And this doesn't mean that I'm better or worse or whatever. I'm just saying, like, this is my trajectory in this particular incarnation. And it's what's interesting is that people who become adept at manifesting their lives with intention, not just their internal world, but like their physical body, the landscape, the environment. Like I said, I'm sort of a newbie. I'm figuring it out as I go. Their entire world starts to become a playground for them. And they can bring their version of that playground with them wherever they go on this planet, or in their dreams, or as they're communicating with other dimensions of their consciousness. And I was talking to Ariane about this last week, but I can think of one person on this planet who absolutely embodies that, who embodies living life at the programmer level. And it's not the Dalai Lama. Sorry, Dalai Lama. It's Dolly Parton. I absolutely perceive her as being a person who realized pretty early on that she is the character of Dolly. But that's not all she is. That's just the character of Dolly. When she's doing this, she's that, but she also has all this multidimensionality to her, right? But she's also creating the environment and the landscape and the game itself. This has become her playground. She actually literally has a theme park. And wherever she goes, she takes that fun with her and creates new, beautiful landscapes and environments and manifestations for others to play in. So I feel like she's fully embodied, at least up through the programmer level. Now, engineering level, who would be that? I mean, I think maybe ascended masters, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Vishnu, those guys. But again, it's not like there's a hierarchy in the sense that you can competitively strive to reach this level. It's not like there's a kind of built-in, fail switch that you can get around. And that fail switch is the ego. Like as soon as you really, really want this and you desire it more than anything else, that's the moment that it's not available to you. You got to give all that up, surrender completely. So anyway, I want to move on to, here's all the various things that I came up with. You can probably come up with many more of ways that you can increase your frequency. And I'm almost done here. We're going to maybe go like 5 minutes over because we got a slightly late start. And if you want to stick around after that, please do, because I will stay here for question and answer. But if you want to just cut out at that point, that's fine. But in the next 5 minutes, we're going to be doing the last gift basket as well as this fun collaborative activity that has to do with one of the things on this sheet, which is the singing and humming. And no, I'm not going to make you sing. I'm just going to have you open your voice and calibrate it to your body. Okay. And I'll show you why. It requires no special skills. And my understanding, it came to me in a download, but then I researched it because that's often how it goes with me. Like I'll receive information and then rather than just trusting it, like, oh, it's in my head, it must be true, right? Like that's not the best way to go about things, because sometimes the stuff that pops into your head is like not helpful. At least in my head. I don't know about you. A lot of my clients too, I'm spending a lot of time helping them get the stuff that's in their head out that's not true. So when I get these downloads, I do research them. I do check in. I go, who else has come up with this? Is this a thing? Has anybody else studied this? Is there any other research I can get into this? And yes, there is. And so what I've sort of pieced together from my own downloads and also other people coming up with this stuff is that your own voice, your voice, specifically your voice, is calibrated to your specific body. It brings about a coherence between the physical, the emotional, the energetic, and it can be heard by all of the higher aspects of your consciousness, by, if you believe in spirit guides, the angelic realms, all of that, right? It raises your energetic and emotional frequencies. It helps to regulate your nervous system. And here's the most interesting part is I have empirical evidence of this. It can attract your tribe to you when they hear your voice. As long as it's your natural resonant voice, there will be something in them that hears that. They have little receptors that go like, that voice fits my receptor. I want to know more, or I want to spend more time with this person, and vice versa, right? And it could be at a romantic level, or it could be at a mentor-mentee level, or it could be at a friendship level, whatever it is. But this is how you find your tribe. Now, unfortunately, a lot of females are taught early on not to use their natural resonant voice. They are instead encouraged to sound like little girls all the time and laugh like hee hee hee. And that's not doing them any favors, okay? It's not helping their body. It's not helping their emotional and energetic and physical coherence. And it's also pretty important not to silence yourself. If you're silencing yourself, you're not benefiting. You're actually sort of telling yourself the opposite of like, oh, I can't heal myself. I'm shutting myself down instead. Okay. And so here's one way that we're going to do it. I am going to start, and I want you guys to do it muted. And then, if you're courageous, unmute yourself so we can all benefit in each other's natural voice resonance. The way that if you struggle with this, if you have like a really warbly voice or a really high-pitched voice, or just you've been using a non-natural voice for so long that it just doesn't, you're not sure, you can lie down horizontally. And this isn't the only method. There's other methods. Like if you talk to professional singers, they'll have different methods, right? This is just one that I picked up. But if you lie down horizontally, take in a really big breath and then slowly let it out by going, ah. If you're lying down, you can't not use your natural resonant voice, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Stay muted for a moment, and then we'll all unmute together. And I'm gonna go ahead and do it unmuted, just so you can hear it and feel like you're doing it with me, okay? Because you guys did tune into this, so you must like me at least a little bit. So here's my voice. And I can't sing, but I can ah. All right. And if you're doing it right, it lasts a long time. That's our energy, our emotional field interacting with everybody in this call. I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Oh, thank you. Thank you for participating in that. All right, so ready for the third gift basket. Ooh. All right, we have, I can't see because I'm crying. Hold on. We have, I know that person's not here actually. We have Dana, but I don't have a last name. Pepper Tree Hypnotherapy. Is she here? Dana, yay! Okay, so you get the big basket, baby. The one that's $2,440. And all I need you to do is reach out to me and give me your physical address, because there are physical parts to it that I'm going to mail. By the way, I'm not actually sending a basket. Okay. I'm going to send it in a box, but you can put it in a basket if you want. So much, everyone. If you're looking for more instruction on how to use these concepts of communicating with multidimensional consciousness, yours, your clients, you may want to check out my Quantum Journeys Hypnosis Academy. It has over 120 modules, audio, video, and PDFs. It covers past life experiences, working with inner healer, meeting spirit guides, ancestors, other helpers, often angelic, creating quantum jumps, all sorts of stuff, like tips on conducting intake, offering pre-talks, pre-talks geared towards getting people comfortable with the woo specifically, and an interactive script to help you get started, sort of like think of it as training wheels. And rather than spend these last minutes doing a full-on sales pitch, I'm just going to direct you to the website. Ariane, can you put quantumjourneyshypnosis.com in the chat for everyone, please? Thank you so much. So I would love to hear any questions you might have. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you. I promised it would be mind-blowing, but I hope it wasn't like brain twisting. Was it mind-blowing, but like no headaches? Okay. Okay. It's hard to condense like a lifetime's worth of special interest into 1 hour. Did anybody have any aha moments? Gave you a lot to think about. Good, good, good. Yep, that's always good. What's the difference between emotional and energetic frequencies? So the way I see it, and that doesn't mean that it's the only way to see it, but the way I see it is that your emotional frequency is all at the levels of feeling, and you can feel it in your body. You can actually sense it in your body. Your energetic frequency is informed by your emotional, but it's like it's a larger body. It's beyond you a bit. Your aura, you can call it that if you want. Just like you would have like foreign invaders that can get into your physical body, like parasites and stuff, you can also get foreign invaders that affect your energetic body. They would be called entities, and there's lots of different kinds. Just like a narcissist can get in and affect your emotional body, right? That's also a form of parasitism. Is that a word? Parasitism? I think so. Anyway, so that's how I see the difference. And it's not like there's a delineation. They all affect each other. They all inform upon each other. And there's more than that too. Those are just the three main ones I work with. But there are other bodies to our body. Any other questions? Good, good. I'm glad you understand that. That's cool. And I don't know. I have a little pet peeve by asking people like, does that make sense? So I didn't, because I feel like it's a little bit condescending. I feel like if it doesn't make sense, it's not your fault, it's mine. So am I making sense? Oh, Jonathan says, highly recommend the QGH course. Yay! Noise canceling headphones are fantastic. I didn't wear them today because I bought this hat for HypnoThoughts and I was going to goddamn wear the hat. I was going to wear it. I needed to have an opportunity to wear the hat. So here we go. But I actually do have noise canceling headphones. I am so not a fan of earbuds or AirPods though. If you're going to use headphones, especially if you're doing them to make recordings, I suggest the wired kind, not the Bluetooth. But if it's just for sessions, I shouldn't say just for sessions. If it's for sessions, wireless is fine by me. You might have a different, opinion about that, but that's fine for me. But still, the whole headphone, not the little dumb things. I really am so curious about the ones that just sort of sit here though and vibrate against your ear rather than being inside. So when I can afford that, or when they become more affordable, either way is fine. I'm going to get some. Any other questions? Yes, I have heard that quantum physics is considering that time as a function of quantum entanglement. Yes, I have, and I'm so excited about that. I've been paying very close attention to this particular conversation. I love the idea that these two entangled particles are what's pulling us through, Yes, I love that. I have. I don't know if it's going to have anything to do with my course or not, though. It's just a personal little fascination. Any other questions at all? I'll stick around for a few more minutes if anybody wants to share anything or ask anything or.
I think it's really interesting what you said about voice frequencies helping you collect your tribe. Because I'm collecting a beautiful tribe. And now I've got to start listening to what I'm listening, listening to what I'm listening to. Thanks, Carissa. One more thing to do.
Yeah,
But
just be yourself. That's the whole point of it. Just be your
yeah,
authentic self with your authentic voice. You can't go wrong because if somebody doesn't like it, Peggy, that means they're not in your tribe.
that's okay. Yeah, but I never thought of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It does make wonderful sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people that take this whole like curating their tribe very, very personally and very seriously, and they will go out of their way to kind of not be a people pleaser, the opposite of a people pleaser, just so that they know that the people that are in their lives are actually there by choice and love them unconditionally. I'm not there yet. I don't know if I ever will, but you know,
Oh,
what maybe.
that's just
Yeah.
that's heavy boundaries. That's just putting up too many boundaries. There can never be too many boundaries, but that's putting up a
But if
lot of.
that's the thing, it's different for each person. There's no one size fits all. What works for
Yeah,
you is not going to work for me, and isn't going to, you know, like, and I, if somebody feels like they need to have more boundaries, let them. So be it. You know, they're on their own journey. They'll either learn that they don't want that many, or that it can be made out of something softer, or whatever. Right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, we're all a work in progress. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Christine. She says, highly recommend the course, eye-opening and amazing. And I didn't want to turn this into a webinar with a big sales pitch, so that's not what this is about. I was going to do this regardless, but if you would like to learn more about like how to utilize all this kooky information I gave you in sessions using Quantum Journeys hypnosis, there is a whole program out there that can help you with that. And it's pretty healing too. It's pretty healing yourself because you do 6 practice sessions as part of your certification. So who's going to eat their apple now that you've infused it with fourth and fifth dimensional magic? I highly recommend just going outside and eating it. Oh, April already did. Good. And just really like letting all of that sink in as you're eating it, just like consuming multi-dimensional wisdom, you know? Georgina already eaten it. You guys are just ahead of the game. You've already got all the wisdom. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Care. Mwah. Thank you, everyone.